Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the Caring View, the online health and social care platform free to access to absolutely everybody. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like, hit that subscribe button, give us a follow on any of the platforms you are watching us on tonight. Join us on LinkedIn, Twitch, X, Facebook, Insta, YouTube, obviously, Spotify. We're on all of those, so go and find us, www.thecaringview.co.uk, for all of our free resources, podcast episodes, chat show episodes, all about our suppliers and especially our sponsors. Everything we do at the Caring View is free. It's never going to cost you a dime. We're not doing this to line our own pockets. We're doing this to line your brains with knowledge and expertise. That is all we want to do. And the only reason we can do it for free is we have some fabulous, generous sponsors who are all big names within the social care sector, all people we trust, all people we know, and all people we think you should believe in as well. So without further ado, we have Prosperwell, the UK's leading digital marketing agency, www.prosperwell.co.uk. If you miss any of the websites for our sponsors, go check them out on our website. Just click their images, it takes you straight through to their sites. Or even better, rewatch the episode because you'll catch them all over again. We have CBAT. Ugh, gross, the worst of our sponsors. No, I tease. CBAT Care Business Associate Training. Whatever your healthcare training requirements are, CBAT can provide them. I'm not just saying this because they sponsor us and Paul's on the show and I'm bricking it right now. But we use CBAT within our organization, especially for the CHAPS courses. Absolutely fantastic. If you have a nursing home and you want to provide or increase your offering of clinical knowledge and clinical care, supporting your nurses, making them feel supported in their roles, check out their CHAPS course. Absolutely fabulous, alongside all of their trainer courses as well. And if you want some leadership support, Paul's got a great leadership program on there, so go check them out. We have Attis Care by Attis Insurance Brokers, the comprehensive care coverage and proactive risk management. James Bergen, our friend over at this fabulous organization, is also a helpful voice on the other end of the line. So please do go check them out. I know insurance seems boring, but it comes around every year and we've got to do it and get the best of our services, especially if commissioners aren't going to increase our fees. You know, got to save a penny where you can. So go check out Attis. We've Log My Care, the intuitive care management platform loved by complex care providers. Say this every single week, but I will stop saying it once they no longer offer it, which I can't imagine it'll be, but they have a freemium version you can try before you buy. If you remember on last week's show, we were discussing about suppliers and things to look out for. What are red flags? Well, this is a green flag, the fact that you can actually try their software, try their system before you need to commit to buying it. Our website is powered by Jack AI. And Jack AI is the brainchild between of Jack White, Health Automated Online and Learningment Online, AI-powered training and AI-powered care planning software. Absolutely revolutionary, completely new to the sector. There are a couple more people now venturing out into this, but if you are thinking to yourself, actually, I want to do something different, and AI's here, and all you guys talk about on the Caring View is AI. I need to do something with it. Check out Health Automated and Learn Online. We have Florence, directly connecting healthcare professionals and organizations with shifts and training around the country. Screw the agencies. Take on Florence. They are amazing, completely different to an agency. You get to see who's coming, when they're coming. If you like them, you say, great, I want more of them. If you don't like them, just block them. You don't need to have them back in your organization. Absolutely fabulous alternative to the agencies. And last but not least, we have Every Step Care Consultancy, transforming care services with tailored consultancy, turnaround management, coaching, and compliance support. If you find yourself in a pickle, you've got a not so great CQC inspection and you need to sort of turn things around and fix it, or it's been a couple of years and you know CQC are on the way and you want to get a head start, check out Every Step Care Consultancy. Our wonderful friend Nicola Holmes is the sort of master over there, so please do go check them out. Good evening, Mark and Paul. How are you both?
I'm thinking you need to add a few more sponsors.
The whole show will just be sponsors if we do that, Paul. Although we would never say no.
Well, thank you very much. You both okay?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
I'm good. I dressed for winter this morning. It was freezing this morning. It was chucking it down. It was windy. I got my big puffer Zara coat on. I'm in a polo neck, turtleneck. Oh, now I am like literally sweating. I could have changed, but I look fabulous, so I'm not going to. With passion comes pain, honestly. Okay, tonight's show. We did tease this at the end of last week's show. I apologize to anyone who is I'm gonna say feels awkward tonight with how raw this might get, because we do want to talk mental toughness. Paul Blane is here. Paul Blane is I'm going to say a leadership guru in the social care sector. And if you're like me, you believe that leadership isn't sector specific. So I'm going to say leadership guru across all sectors, because leadership is leadership. If you're a leader at McDonald's, you're a leader everywhere else. You've got to have those sort of same characteristics. But this session tonight is all around building confidence. It's around managing stress, staying focused under pressure, and leading with clarity, even in the most demanding environments. And social care, if anything, is an incredibly demanding environment. So, Paul, good evening. And I want to, in fact, people do know who you are, because if they don't know you from CBAT and they don't know you from the Care Show or UK Care Week or the Health and Social Care Club, they'll know you from Instagram, where you're in your underpants posing with your muscle building tactics, number 3 body of 40-year-olds in this country, or whatever it was. But for those who might not know you and live under a rock, Paul, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Paul Blane, and I am the CEO of Care Business Associate Training, so one of the sponsors, Confident Competence, and SVL Care Homes. So quite busy, all within the field of health and social care, running around the country, either coaching, mentoring, delivering training, or looking after quite a vast team of people that sit behind me.
I don't know how you find the time, Paul. Like, I literally don't know how you find the time. I'm like, I go to work, come home, do a bit of Lego, and I'm like, that is it. I am zonkoed for the day. And I just want to give up and go to bed. Hence why I'm really looking forward to tonight's show. So, Paul, when we talk mental toughness, give us a sort of overarching description of what we mean by mental toughness.
Yeah, so I think sometimes the term, the name of it, can actually give it a bad stigma, because it's almost, when you hear those words, it's kind of saying there should be no such thing as mental health. We should all be mentally tough, and that's wrong. That's not what it's about. Mental toughness was something that was brought out very much within the world of sport, and it was brought out to actually help athletes, future sports stars, actually gain a strong resilience and become mentally tough, because they were going to be faced with such adversity throughout their career, faced with failure, faced with not achieving their goals. They were going to have to be very focused and goal driven towards what it was that they wanted to do. And in a way, they were going to have to become quite selfish and determined in relation to getting to that. So it was very much around the Olympic stars, the football teams, more like a performance management to upskill people to become mentally tough. And we know in these days of social media, a football player misses a penalty and all of a sudden it's front page news, or it's splashed all over social media that they're useless, that they're no good. So getting people to become strong enough to be able to deal with those situations was very much what the skill was of developing someone's mental toughness. And then it sort of like, obviously, as most things do, moved over from that world to see whether it could work within the business world. And we all go through these periods of time where we're challenged to a highest levels, where we're taken to the lowest points. So any skills that we can pick up to help develop us, to pull us through those times, is what mental toughness is.
I'm going to hand over to Mark now, but there's just one word that you used then that I would like to bring back up later on in the show tonight, and that's around being selfish, because it's got such a negative connotation to it, but it's something that I'm learning at the moment I need to be a little bit more of. I need to be a little bit more selfish, and I need to own that selfishness, because it's important to care about yourself. And maybe selfish is a strong word, but I want to touch on that later on tonight. But Mark, over to you.
No, good point. And I think definitely we should talk about it. I think it's absolutely fine to say no. And I know I'm very brutal with mine, definitely with family more so than friends, but I'll talk about that later. Paul, I just wanted to, listening to you there, I wrote down the word resilience. And where does resilience come in terms of the mental toughness? Are they the same thing? Are they different? Is there
no, they're the same thing. Mental toughness is almost born out of resilience. Now, the most understanding thing is to actually understand how we build resilience in the first place. Now, resilience is built from failure. No one becomes resilient from succeeding all the time. So failure is the first step in terms of building resilience. If we take, for example, how many times in your own life have you thought you're in a catastrophic situation and the world is about to end, or you're about to get fired, or what's life going to hold within the next couple of years if I don't get this right? And then what happens is over time you find that it wasn't as bad as what you had first envisaged it to be. So what happens is the next time a similar situation happens, you built up a level of resilience to that. So your mind doesn't go to the catastrophic vision that you had in the first place, but everybody else's may do. So you built up a resilience to sort of like say, listen, it's not the best situation, but we will get through this. Here's what's likely to happen as a result. So building that resilience can only come from experience. It can only come from being in those situations. It's what we like to term is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's what resilience is about becoming. So we all build resilience up in life, and we all get knocked down, and we all have to stand back up. But building a stronger resilience to things is what can make you a much stronger leader. Because when it comes to being able to control your own emotions, which is a big part of mental toughness, then you're able to then give that dialect over to the team to just calm them and let them know that we will get through it and help build their resilience to things. But all revolves around you've got to be in those uncomfortable situations to build resilience. You've got to fall over 100 times before you can walk.
Yeah. I mean, a very, very wise prophet once said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's why she won American Idol, because Kelly Clarkson had it down to a T. You know, it is basically what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I joke about it, but it is so true. And Paul, you're saying things like, you know, we always think the worst outcome, and then that increases our stress, it increases our anxiety. And I'm guilty of that. And I have in the past, probably even today, felt at times, you know, oh, what if this happens if I do this, though? What if this happens if I do this? And then I try and think about the energy that I've spent worrying about something that might not even happen, and the energy that I've given it, and the time that I've given it, and then the after effect of how it's made me feel, or how I've allowed it to make me feel. I should rephrase that. It's incredible how much power we give to the unknown, and I'm trying to be a believer of manifestation. So what I believe, what I want to happen will happen. But I'm balancing that with stoicism, with the understanding that I'm not entitled to anything either.
Absolutely.
So just because I've put a load of hard work into something doesn't mean I deserve something back. And I think that's been a turning point for me. So, you know, a lot of people will watch this show, and I know we discussed this before we went live. And you'll see myself and Mark, and I'm not going to speak for Mark on this behalf, but I'll speak for me. You'll see us doing these shows. You'll see us talking around the country, doing whatever we do. And some of you will sit there and think, oh my God, these guys have made it, and they're amazing, and this is brilliant, and how fabulous is this, and look how much confidence they've got. 3 years ago, I wanted to take my own life because I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I can't. I look amazing and I feel amazing, and we're great, and we do what we do, and we get the attention. That's not what I do and why I do what I do. But it also masks the stuff that's going on inside. And I think it's important to say that you can't just assume people are okay from the outside. And it was then that I decided that I need to start looking within, and I needed to start doing things to protect myself, to protect my peace. And one of the things that I did do is I gave up social media. Very much because of what you've just said about the footballers, because you do something and it goes on social media, and the pressure you get from social media to achieve, to do what others are doing, keeping up with the Joneses. It's that competition of what you're supposed to be doing. And actually, it's not healthy and it's not good. And yeah, it's a burden most likely to Mark, because I log on once a week. I invite people to come and watch the podcast. I see people tag me. I see comments coming through. But I know if I start going back down that rabbit hole of social media, my mental health will be severely, severely impacted. And it works for some. Social media is great for some people, and I commend those who can manage it and not let it affect them. But it was one of those things that internally I needed to look at and go, right, if I'm going to build my resiliency, if I'm going to build my toughness, I need to look at what's in my control and what I can change.
Absolutely.
And that was one of them.
Absolutely. It's something really emphasize when I'm coaching, what's in your control? What can we control? Because that's got to be the starting point. If you can't control the uncontrollable, in the same way that I cannot influence the way that you two are going to be in this conversation tonight. All I can do is speak my truth and what I believe. And that's the bit where, when I speak to a lot of people around that, remove the noise, if you like, because if the noise is not giving you any form of reward, then what's its purpose? What does it serve? It's a bit like, your best friend that wants to tell you how to run your business when they've never run a business in their life, but they've had every great idea and they could have been multimillionaires. Okay, I'm not saying don't listen to some of the things they're saying, but please don't take it as they're the guru that's actually going to help and steer you to where you need to be. What's their experience? What's their influence? They're just someone with an opinion. And on social media, what you'll find is that most people that have an opinion have never done anything related to that in their life. So when they turn around and they lambast the football player that missed the penalty, and yes, we all got frustrated, we all got anxious, and we all go, he's on £200,000 a week, how can he miss a penalty? The reality is, the person that's normally voicing that has never kicked the football in their life, or certainly wouldn't be able to score that goal themselves. So how are they being helpful to that situation? They're just noise. Whereas somebody was very constructive with it and said, well, the problem was your run up, you actually, if you look at your half stride that you took towards the ball there, the positioning of your body when you actually, your foot made contact with the ball, that would have been constructive.
And for those in social care at the moment, we are going to be expecting PSAFE coming in within the social care sector. The NHS framework of basically removing blame culture and having a look at antecedents and contributing factors to what caused an event. Because at the minute, I do believe in social care, we do have a finger pointing mentality. This has gone wrong. It's because of you. And it's a very difficult thing if you're an employee working in an organization to have that finger pointed at you. But then also using your football analogy, and I'm not going to try and use any football terms because I will just butcher it. Straight over my head. Sorry, Elaine, I can see you watching. Your son's probably amazing. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. But in those situations where it's a case of how did he miss that? That's awful. He's terrible. But like you were just saying, but actually, let's have a look at everything that led up to it. And this wasn't great. This was a little bit off. You should have done that a little bit more. Your shoelaces weren't tied. I don't know, whatever affects people kicking footballs. That for me is much more effective because it allows you to reflect on a situation and become self-reflective and go, oh, actually, yeah, I'm going to look at the wider picture. So, Paul, I'm about to go and have oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say there, just on what you said, that's coming back to the controllable. You see, if you give me that constructive feedback, that's within my control to do something about that. That's within my control to have a look at it myself, reflect. Okay, can I change something in this? Can I make sure that doesn't happen again? All of that is within my control. There's someone just calling me an idiot for missing it and an overpaid plant pot, that is not in my control. So that's why it's noise. If it's not in your control, push it away.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you sort of
do anything with that.
Actually, it reminds me of I'm going to say it reminds me of a time when you joined me for a talk and there's people like, and what if we're struggling and we can't do this and we can't do that? You're like, close up shop, just give up, just close your business. If you're not doing it, just crack on, close it down and do something else. And sometimes that's what people need to hear. Don't flog a dead horse. But you've sort of anticipated the question I was going to ask. So I'm about to go and have, and hypothetically, I'm about to go and have an appraisal. And I know there's probably things that my manager is going to say to me that are going to be tough to hear and they're going to be critical of my performance. There's going to be some really good stuff. I struggle to take compliments, but I also struggle to manage constructive criticism. How should I approach it? What are some of the tactics that I could use going into my next appraisal to sort of protect myself, but also take on board the feedback I'm about to get?
Okay, so if we actually bring this back to mental toughness is based around 4 C's. Okay, first one is control, controlling your own emotions, and that's emotional intelligence as well. Now, there's lots of things that you can do to help you with that. You're going to be quite anxious going into it. So you're either going to get pre-feedback, which raises your adrenaline levels, and you're ready to go in there and either put up the defense wall or rage over the top of it and go for the fight. or you are going into it almost blind, wondering what's going to be said, in which case you're likely to go into a freeze mentality at that point. So being able to control yourself before the meeting is being able to reflect on all the positive things that you think you've done over since the last appraisal, because that's giving you the armory that you need, if it comes to it, to make a point as to what your achievements have been and your successes. So journaling that down and taking that time to reflect means that you're not just going to go in there and sit and take it, which is what a lot of people do when they go into appraisals. They go into appraisals with the mindset that it's going to be an attack almost. So therefore, I'll wait to hear what's said, and then they won't be armed. They will just go back with blah, 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 blah. When actually what you want to do is go back and say, well, let's look at this area, and this area. It's a bit like if I was to turn around to you and say, write down 3 of your strengths and 3 of your weaknesses, you're already armed to go into that meeting to turn around and take control of the appraisal and say, this is where I think I've done really strong, and this is where I think I really need to work on over the next course of the year. In other words, you've taken control of the appraisal. And that's the bit, that's a key point of actually having that self-control to be able to understand what it is that you want to get out of this, not what they want to get out of it at this moment in time. What's the appraisal for? Is for you and for you to learn. So there's simple things that you can do before you go into that. Box breathing is probably the most used method of actually being able to drop your heart rate, which technically speaking, what you want to do in that moment in time. So, if anybody's not heard of box breathing, it's basically 4 out, 4 in, 4 out, 4 in, go around in the box, do that 5 or 6 times, and it will decrease your heart rate. You can have journaled yourself so you know what you're going into the meeting to talk about, and also address areas that you want to improve in over the next 12 months. So no one wants to go into a meeting, or certainly if I was taking an appraisal with you, Adam, and you come in and you say, I'm Adam, I'm amazing, I'm this, I'm that, I've got no faults, there's nothing you can improve me on, just let me carry on and do my job, then now you put me in a position to bring you down a peg or two, and that's what's going to happen. Whereas if you hit that first, you leave me in a position to go, you've really thought about this. I'm really happy with that appraisal. Right, what can we do to help and support those 3 key areas that you've identified? Oh, and by the way, I agree with you. Those successes that you had, fantastic. So how do we emulate them over the course of the next year? And it changes the entirety of the conversation around the appraisal because you've gone in prepared. So that's the control. Then that you've got your second C, which is your commitment. So you're going into an appraisal, and part of that appraisal is going to be, well, what are you committing to over the next course of the year? Because ultimately, you are going to get paid a new salary for that year. Now, it may be the same amount, but they're still pledging that over the course of the next year to pay you that amount again, or to pay you more. So what is your commitment back to the company in that? What are they getting from you? So it's good for you to go in and say, I'm committed to this company and I see the growth in this company, or I see where my department is likely to go, and that's what I want to work towards. And then the third one is the challenge. How are you going to challenge yourself? So what are you going to bring new to the table about you personally? Is it going to be that actually you want to do things like fundraisers, or you want to do brand awareness with the company, or you want to look at wellness more? What are you going to do to challenge yourself and put yourself into uncomfortable situations that that are new to you? What's your new learning going to be? In other words, what does next year's Adam look like compared to this year's Adam? And then the last one is confidence. That's self-belief. Now you know that you can do your job, and you know you're bloody good at your job. So you have to have that self-belief and that self-determination alongside those goals that you know are achievable that you can work to. So when we look at when we draw the 4 C's of mental toughness back into that, then you are going into that appraisal, and it's going to be your appraisal. It's not going to be their appraisal. It's going to be about Adam Pennell, and it's going to be about the Adam Pennell that you want to be and what you've achieved and how you're going to improve on that. And they will, at that point, I certainly know if somebody came into an appraisal with me and they came in armed like that, I would sit back and look at them and go, this person's a flaming superstar. What on earth can we do with this person now? Because they're becoming planned, prepared, cool, calm. They've worked on their own self. and we can go a long way with it. So that would be my very quick sort of like hopefully answer to your question of what you can do.
Perfect. Honestly, I'm making mental notes right now, thinking, "Oh, I should have done that today for my appraisal today." That's a good idea. That, and I do journal. I have a journal. I don't write, dear diary, this is what happened today. And he looked at me amazing, and my heart skipped a beat. I don't do any of that, obviously, but I do journal, and it is so great to get your thoughts down on paper.
Absolutely. And journaling, I agree with you. I'm someone that journals, but I don't sit there going, dear diary. Dear diary, I woke up at 7 a.m. this morning, right? Because that would be a late start. And I've been annoyed at myself all day. No, but what you're wanting to journal is you're trying to find out in a journal about yourself. Okay, so when you're trying to find out about yourself, and what I would recommend to people that are journaling is look at the challenges you faced that day and journal about how your reactions were and how you felt about those reactions. So were you pleased and proud with your reaction, or do you think there's something that you need to work on next time that you would do differently? That's reflective practice, and journaling in its identity is reflective practice. The other version is a diary. So ultimately, when you're journaling, look at how you've reacted in certain situations that day and ask yourself, can I learn from them? And that's going back to that growth mindset that is always about learning.
It's strange, isn't it? Because some roles, so like a therapy role, there's a lot of that reflective practice as part of their role. It's almost taught to them as part of that degree. Whereas I don't think in social care, that's something that's really spoken about or taught about, even as you enter kind of into management, leadership and bits and pieces. I don't think it's not something that's on the suite of cards that we necessarily hear about, talk about, approach in general. Just listening to you there, I wrote down around passion and emotions, listening to both of you have that conversation. So you say we're in this appraisal. I know for me, the passion for social care quite often will get the better of me, especially if I'm being told something that I don't necessarily want to hear with or agree with or know is completely wrong. How can somebody control that passion and emotion?
You have to first of all take a step back from the situation and go back to something that Adam said earlier, and that is this within your control? So, for instance, if somebody turned around to me and said care staff aren't paid enough in care, I would turn around and say absolutely 100% they are not paid enough. I agree completely. Then they may turn around and say to me, well, you own a care home, why don't you pay your staff more? Now, at that point, what I'm able to do is put into context exactly the cost of running a care home, and able to turn around and say, well, do you know that 60% of my outgoings is on staff pay? I says, and then we've had the increase in employers' national insurance contributions, pensions, the tax burden has been lowered for people. I said, so there's lots of variants that have come in. And ultimately, unless we are hitting occupancy of around about 80%, then we are not even breaking even. We will start to lose money. Now, in all that period that we've lost money, at no point have I cut your hours or cut your pay or made anybody redundant. So based on that, even if we do hit 90% occupancy, there has to be a clawback period so we can get the business back to a stable position. So you have to give the context behind the decisions, because there's too many people want to make noise and snapshots that we should pay more. I don't disagree that we should pay more, but until something changes further up the chain, which is outside of my control, there isn't much that I can do other than to focus on the business and stabilize the business so we all have a business to come to and work at. Now, if I was making tens of millions of pounds from it, then I would struggle to have that argument. So a lot of it is down to the fact of be true to yourself, and then you can be true to others. So I'm not here, if you're making £10 million profit and you could afford to pay your staff more, and you're sat there touting that staff should be paid more, then pay bloody staff more. You've got the money. But if you don't, explain to staff, actually, what's your priorities here? And my priority is to keep me and them in a job. And therefore, there's the books. You can go onto Companies House every year. You can see what's lodged. It's right there. And that's the bit where we're going back to what I said, the control element. So what can I control? What can I control? So there will be certain things that happen in that appraisal that you may get passionate, you may get vehement because what's been said to you doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel right with your gut. Ask them to explain the reasons why. Because when they explain the reasons why, if they can and the context is right, you'll realize that they are actually on the same path as you are. It's just that it's outside of the control to get there at this current moment in time. And then maybe you can both focus on possible solutions to get that within your control.
I think the only other thing for me listening to you there, and thank you, is around being self-aware of your emotions. So I think, especially if we're going into a meeting or an appraisal in this scenario that we're kind of talking around, is if you know that you're going to discuss something that you're passionate about or that could easily upset you or anger you or whatever emotion might come out, is actually removing yourself from that meeting if you can feel that. Because I think a lot of the time, and I see it, in previous companies, in my company, you almost sat in a meeting with people that are not angry at each other, but have two very different views. And it's almost awkward to be in a room with those people that are giving those opinions, because it's almost very catfightish. And actually just removing yourself from that if you are one of those people, and then coming back in once you're calmer or once you've collected your thoughts, or not coming back in at all and re-adjourning it to another day, actually is probably better for you than not.
I absolutely agree. I mean, there'll be people watching this who've worked with me for a long time going, is that really Paul Blane that's speaking there? Because I am your typical Scottish Glaswegian who used to throw things around the room and go off on a tangent because I was very passionate. I was very, very passionate. So I had to learn that method doesn't always work. And certainly, if you want to build a team that you want to be innovative, that you want to take risk and take chances, then they have to see that you're going to allow them to do that without there being any serious consequence that sits behind that. And I've had to do what you just said there, Mark. I've had to remove myself from the room at that point, or not even go to the meeting in the first place. Let them have the meeting and let me hear the ideas that come out of it. But there is still that little person inside of me that the team have to put back in this box every so often, because whilst I may practice mental toughness, and it's important, I practice many different things, it doesn't mean they work all the time. There's no silver bullet here. You're just trying to upskill yourself in certain areas to help you handle situations better. But I'm someone, sometimes I actually need to go into a rage first, calm, and then I come up with the solution. And then I go and present the solution like I'm the most calmest person on the planet and say, this is what we need to do, guys. So I've had to remove myself, certainly from the mainstream of the team in those situations, and build myself a nucleus of people around me that actually will control me in that situation or allow me to vent and rant, and I can trust that it's not going to leak out from there. And then they know what version of me they get as the come down actually starts to happen. So if you're watching this, please don't think, oh, I'd love to work for him, he's so calm, because I've got team members in here listening that would turn around and say, oh no, I've seen him go off.
I think it's important that you're not surrounded by yes people, that you got people that are actually giving you the honest truth.
Yeah. My famous line is, here's what I think. I need somebody to tell me that I'm wrong. Please tell me that I'm wrong. I will be the most grateful person on the planet if you turn around and say, Paul, you have got all of this wrong. And then I hear the words, we can't, because you've actually nailed it. And I'll be like, crap, right. Now we've got to do something. Maybe a stronger word, but that's what my team would turn around and say that I want to be proven wrong all the time. But with my experience and knowledge, and I've been through most situations, not all situations, but most situations, often that experience sits in your gut that you just can sense something before it's even happened.
Yeah. No, I think that's, and not to get into a leadership conversation around functional teams, but that ability to foster a culture where challenge is accepted, and you have that conflict of going, well, that's great, but what about this? Is a truly rare thing, and if you can achieve that within your teams, you're going to have a complete sort of straight path to success, because you're allowing people to give their opinions and to give their thoughts. I think for me, around the emotion side, and it's something that I'm working through in therapy at the moment, is recognizing that no one makes me feel anything. My thoughts control my emotions. My thoughts feed into my emotions, and for me, I'm doing a lot of work around if someone says something and I get myself angry, and I'll say I get myself angry, they've not made me angry, I get myself angry, I'm trying to recognize now what those triggers are. So what is it that that person said that has created a thought? And what is that thought that I've had because of what that person said? And why is that thought making me feel like this? Why am I allowing that thought to affect my emotions? So I too have to remove myself from situations, but I'm working to a point where I can, and it sounds really smug, so good. I'm trying to work to a point where I don't have to remove myself from those situations because I can actively control the thoughts as they come in. So that person I know is going to say this in a minute, and old me would get angry at it, but I know why I'm going to get angry, so I'm not going to do that now. I know why that's triggering me, so I'm not going to do that. And it isn't all work stuff. Sometimes we get triggered from deep-rooted stuff from our past. You know, my therapist is like a bloody miner at the moment, and she's digging, and we're going further and further and further back, and I'm like, crikey, I have got so much unresolved childhood trauma.
Absolutely. Everybody's got bodies. Everybody.
It's mad. Skeletons, the lot. It's like, I don't know, serial killer in here because there's that many skeletons in this closet that I'm uncovering right now. But for me, that's really important to be able to start taking control of those emotions. We can't directly control them, but we can control the thoughts that feed into them. And I think that's one of the sort of first steps that I'm learning to take now to not get myself in that position where my emotions linger then for the rest of the day. And I can be a bit more positive and a bit more constructive. We're well over the halfway mark. And I want to come back to selfishness. Now, Tina's come into the chat and said, is it self-focus or selfishness? Paul, can you define the difference, please? But also discuss.
Okay, so a bit of both, Tina. So certainly when we're talking about mental toughness, one of the key elements is self-belief and focus. Okay, so focus being a very big determining factor. So mental toughness is very much about creating those goals, what it is that you want to achieve, and be very much goal orientated and success outcome orientated. So if we were sort of like, if you were converting this back to a sports person and you had somebody that had the Olympic Games coming up, for example, you know, they're going on let's say they run the 100 meters, they're going on a 4-year training journey to run a 10-second race. Yeah, 4 years of training to run 10 seconds. And that's, you know, that has to take unbelievable focus and attention to detail in terms of training plans, in terms of nutrition, hydration, in terms of working at altitude, traveling, being away from the family, you know, for months and months on end, competing in different races. You know, there is so much that goes into it for that one goal that they're trying to achieve. And we do the same thing in business, you know, exactly the same thing. If we're starting up a business or we're trying to get somewhere within the business, or there's a growth strategy, etc., like that. So there's an unbelievable amount of focus that goes into that, and self-belief that if you actually have that laser focus towards it, you will be able to achieve. And that's when you were talking about manifestation and things like that, that's exactly what that is. You're manifesting it to drive the focus. You're able to turn around and say to your brain, this is what it is that we are going to achieve. And the brain can't tell the difference between the reality of that or the vision of that. So you're getting a practice run every time that you actually manifest things or you create the vision behind it. And then all of a sudden you can start to put that into action. And the brain thinks, we've been here before. We know how to do this. So that's the focus that comes into it, and that's self-belief. Now, this is where it goes hand in hand, because there's a couple of things that I mentioned there that could be classed as being very selfish. And that is, all of a sudden, you are going to sacrifice, whether you like it or not, a lot of things that a lot of people will name you selfish. So whereas it may be labeled selfish, it's not actually selfish. It's just they don't understand at that point what it is that you're trying to achieve. But that athlete, if you like, may actually be giving up alcohol for 4 years. So therefore, he's going to have friends, or she's going to have friends around them that's actually saying, oh, come out, it's my birthday. And they're going to say no, because they don't want to be put in that position. You're going to probably miss some, you know, there's a lot of people that have missed the birth of their children. you know, because of events that have taken place. So there's a number of things that night out, that date night that you were going to go to. So relationships become hard to foster and form, etc. Unless you've got very understanding people behind you, you're going to learn the ability to say no. And if you're someone that struggled to say no, that's a very difficult thing to actually master, because people are going to think, oh, they've changed. And ultimately, it's down to the fact that they don't understand what it is that you're trying to achieve, because they're not on that same journey that you were on at that time. So it can be perceived as selfish. So I like the way that Tina phrased that there. Because I think what Tina meant was, actually, I don't think it's selfish for you to go after or be ambitious to chase down your dreams and go for it. I don't think it is either. Ultimately, though, it depends who's around you and the sacrifices that you are going to make and the sacrifices that they are going to have to make. But what you have to be is so focused that it's not actually determined by you how they will feel about it. So that's the bit I would say communication is key, certainly with a partner, etc., like that, or if you're in a relationship, that they're actually on board and they understand what it is that you're going to have to go through and do, and the sacrifices you're going to ask them to make and yourself to make in relation to that. But from the outside world, I'm sure you get called a selfish git.
Well, it reminds me of what opened up my journey into self-focus and selfishness. And it was the year my dad died. So 2018. And I think I'd done like 365 days on call, like non-stop. No break, nothing whatsoever. My dad was ill during this entire period. And I got a phone call in the morning and say, look, he's dying. You know, he won't be with us by the end of today. And I had to basically explain to people at work why I wasn't going to be on call. Oh, but there's no one else to take it. I don't care. Like, I've given you so much over this last year that this is a me moment now. And if I don't accept this moment, I'm going to miss a life-changing event, which I will regret moving forwards. And I did. I gave him the on-call phone. I went to my dad. I held his hand, kissed his forehead as he died. But then I also thought to myself, how much time with that have I wasted prior to this happening? Why did it take my dad dying for me to realize that actually my life's important as well, and my downtime's important, and my own personal time's important? And you see a lot of this and I truly believe with you, Paul, you know, if you want to achieve big and you want to do that, you've got to give the hours, you've got to give the time, and you've got to do what you need to do. But for me, there's also an element of, if we are a number in someone else's machine and we're doing work for them basically in their business, and it's not our path to be entrepreneurs and to do big things and work solid, don't. Like, you don't owe anybody anything. And it's really important that you understand that, because for me, if I could go back in time now and keep the knowledge that I do have, because I know experiences shape who we are, and say 6 months before my dad died, I can't do the on-call for now because I need to go spend some time with my dad, by heck, I'd go back and do it. Because for me, it's one of those moments where actually it's how I apply to the rest of my life now. So one trick that I do when I get home from work is, I used to be the person that would work till midnight. I would work all night and make sure I've got everything done the next day. Two problems here. One, I'm going to be knackered. And the second problem is, people then start to expect that level of output constantly, because you're always putting that level of output. And if you don't do that level of output, and Mark, and you and I have spoken about this in the past, the minute you don't output the same, they're going, is everything okay? You're not doing as much as you normally do. And it's like, yeah, because I was working 90 hours a week and I'm no longer doing it. When I get home from work now, if I do want to do any work, I don't plug my laptop in. And once my laptop has died because the battery's gone, that's it. It gets shut in, it goes in my bag, and whatever's not been done can wait until the next day. Then I start to think in my head, why have I not completed what I need to complete today? I'm going to revisit my Eisenhower matrix. Let's have a look at my time management, because it's not about working more, it's about working smarter. And I've obviously not worked as smart as I could do. And I come across quite arrogant to a lot of people nowadays, because it's a case of, I don't want to blame other people for me not achieving. I don't want to blame other people for me not doing what I need to do. It's internal. If I've not finished what I need to finish, it's because I've given my efforts elsewhere that I probably shouldn't have done. And it's really important that I focus on that, but also self-focus, selfish, whatever term we use, being able to say, this is my time now, and I'm going to have my time.
Yeah. But I think on that basis, I think this is where we get a lot of conflict that happens around people's understanding of something like mental toughness, because we're sort of like relating it, and I have done tonight, I've alluded to it, related it to the world of sport. I've related it to the world of business, but it doesn't have to be just related to those. What is success? Success is whatever you set out. My goal may be to become a multimillionaire. It may be to actually live a happy life in a street that I grew up in. Your goal is your own personal want. And here's the main thing. You have to want it, and you have to choose it enough to be focused on it and be persistent with it. So it doesn't all, if I want to work for a charity and give, I still have to be persistent. I'm still trying to build the charity. I'm still trying to raise funds. I'm still wanting to give the money out. It's exactly the same mentality I would have to have for that is what it would be to run a successful business, is what it would be to be a successful sports person. Exactly the same mentality. If it's your marriage that you want to work on, you still have to show persistence towards it. And when we look at what mental toughness is, I know I mentioned the 4 C's, but if we actually break it down, we can break it down into 5 key areas. One is resilience, which we talked about right at the beginning. That ability to overcome, obstacles and adversity, and learn from experiences so that you know how to handle the situation better the next time. The focus on what it is that you're trying to achieve is the goals. The self-belief is having that confidence. Now, if you don't have that confidence, if you're somebody that suffers from imposter syndrome, and we all do, that's something we can do something about. That's within our control. We can go and learn. We can listen to podcasts. We can read books. We can network with the right people. We all have this great ability to learn what the heck we want. It doesn't stop. And that will bring the confidence and the self-belief. And then there's a persistence. Nothing's going to throw me off course here. I'm going to get my goal. I'm going to keep going. And everybody that tries to push me over, I'm going to get back up. And then the last one is the adaptability. Understanding and knowing that things change course. And the way you've been doing it might not be the right way. So you have to relook at it and go, no, I'm changing that. And that's the growth mindset. That's the getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the bit where you're turning around and pivoting. Now, we pivoted like mad when it came to COVID. I actually don't think there is any industry in the world that should be celebrated as much as social care during COVID at all. What social care done during COVID and did not get anywhere near the recognition about it is save a lot of lives and put the fight back to government. And no staff worked day in, day out, night shift, day shift. They went to shops early. They done everything they could to keep people safe. And whilst, I'm not saying this to diminish everybody else that wasn't able to go to work, but you got a break. We didn't, and we've never had to get that. We've never got that break back. We never, ever got respite from this, because the minute we all came out of it, we had to keep going. And then we get hit with government and their finances and their taxes and everything that they're doing. CQC with their new regulations that come up. We are the most resilient industry that you could find because we keep going. We should have been dead many, many times over, but they can't kill us. Right. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, nobody's got mental toughness. You need to go on this training course. You need to learn this skill to do it. You actually already have it. You're just trying to define it. Now, what mental toughness will do for us is at times we're going to get lost. At times we're going to feel defeated. At times we're going to feel like we can't get back up. And that's when we can lean back on the skills that we know of and go, what's wrong here? Why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel rejected? And that takes me to another theory that links really well with this. I won't go into it in any big detail, but I could spend another hour talking to you about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because somewhere inside there, you've dropped to a level that you need to fix in order to move back up the ladder. And that fits in again with your mental toughness, because all of this is a formation of self-actualization. You're trying to get back to being the you. The real you, not the fake you, not the social media you, the real you. And that's where we can actually lean back on all these skills that we learned. We naturally do them, but sometimes we get lost. If we have the skills in the toolbox, we can go back into the toolbox and say, what am I missing here? For me, a lot of it was goals, because I'm a goal-orientated person. I'm a nut job. I will take on every challenge that you can possibly throw at me and have a crack at it, including getting on into those tighty whities and standing on a blooming stage. or getting in a boxing ring and getting this face battered yet again. I will take on anything to challenge myself in that uncomfortable environment. And I love it. I love that what comes from it. I learn so much about me. But at the same token, it doesn't mean that I'm this bulletproof character. Things can hurt and things can get you, and something can sideswipe you and knock you out. And it doesn't matter how successful you may have been, you're left with you at the end of the day. And that's the bit where you've got to search within yourself and go back to the drawing board and go, right, what am I missing? For me, it's focus. Self-belief got doubted, but you're a confident person. Get back on the bloody horse, right? Start looking at it again. What are your 4 C's? Where can you improve it? You know, looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Where am I at in that pyramid? How did I get to there? And that's a bit, I'd say, anything that you're learning over these years, you might not use it at the time. But I know how to ride a bike because someone taught me when I was very young how to ride a bike. Now, I haven't rode a bike in a long, long time, but I could still get on that bike and ride it again because I know the skills in order to do it. But it doesn't mean I won't fall off.
Yeah.
Paul likes a challenge. I feel like we should set a bike challenge here.
I love it. Honestly, you won't. I mean, you maybe I'll get on a bike. I don't know. But you were talking then, Paul, about, you know, everything that you're achieving, but you're still human. You know, you still get hurt, and it really. I don't know what it's about you. You make me feel cultured in an evening. Like I need to pull out my quotes in my head. But if you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? Merchant of Venice. You know, Shakespeare got it years ago. You know, that whole we are still human. You know, we have blood running through our veins. We have a heart beating in our chest. We have brains in our heads, and we have emotions within our souls. It's no matter what we are achieving, it's all relative to those individuals. So what isn't a success to you is hard work to me, and actually not what I, you know, Mark, I'll use you as an example. You're a prime example. You are a master of social media, and it's something you really excel at, and I admire that in you. But that exhausts me, and I know that that's not a success for me. A success for me is something completely different. You know, being able to spend an evening in my craft room and having that time saved for me. And it's around understanding that relativity of what is great for one person doesn't have to be great for you, and accept that. Like, you know, take it on the chin. It's absolutely fine, but also respect others. And just because they appear tough, don't jibe, don't jab, and don't needlessly go in at them, because you know, if you prick us, do we not bleed? Sorry, Mark, I was going to go back to you.
No, that's okay. I think you are. Both of you are spot on. I think we all have our own goals, our own ambitions. You know, I think for me, it's around. Yeah, I spend a lot of time at work, a lot of time on social media, but I'm very fixed in terms of, and we alluded to it at the beginning, in terms of actually, if there's a family event and I don't want to go, I'm not going. If somebody asks me a reason, I'll be very honest with them. But if they don't, you know, I don't. But if I make a commitment to doing something, I'll do it. Even if I don't want to do it, because I've made that commitment. I believe that if you've said to somebody you're going to be there, or you're going to talk to them, or do whatever, you should follow that through. But at work, I think I'm very good at telling my team, and I do it. If you join a meeting and you're not getting anything out of it, unless it's a contract meeting with the local authority, leave. Make an excuse, tell them you've got a clash, and leave. If you look at that agenda, and you don't think there's anything on that agenda for you, don't go to that meeting. Because I think we all, I don't know, I spend so much time, and so does a lot of my team, in back-to-back meetings. You don't have time to breathe. Like tomorrow, I'm in a meeting from 8 o'clock in the morning all the way to 5 o'clock, back-to-back. There's no time for a lunch break. But at some point, one of those meetings I've got tomorrow, I will not be going to, or I will be leaving early, because I think you need to make sure you've got time for that break and for you. But I think I'm very firm with, you know, parents' evening, kids' birthdays, anniversaries. I hate the term date nights, but if I said to Alice, I'll take her out for dinner or do something, then I'll be there. And whatever else happens around, I don't care what's happening, I'll stick to those things and I'll make sure I'm there. So I think you have to know kind of your boundaries. I think one thing that really helps me is start work at 9, but that hour between 9 and 10, I never ever really book in a meeting unless it's for me. But I never book in a meeting between that 9 to 10 period, just because I'm not proactive. I'd much rather still be in bed, but actually it gives me that hour to just plan my day. But actually, I don't mind staying an hour later to catch up if I need to, or do whatever. But I think having your boundaries is really important. I think listening to you there around family understanding, I think that's one thing that people have said to me. throughout my career is about how Alice is so understanding. And I think I just landed lucky. But I think there's a lot of managers that I've worked with over the years that don't have that really struggle. And then that impacts either on their career because they leave because they want to either be with their partner and they choose personal life over work life, but also the other way around. And so many people that have lost out on relationships and split up, and kids then have two families and bits and pieces just because of that impact on work. And I think finding somebody that is understanding, but I think a lot of that comes from open communication, the same as we all have to do with our teams. You've got to be honest about what it is. I think when I met Alice, I was at college, and then after college I would go straight into the care home and do a shift from 6 till 10 or 6 till 11, do a sleep in, do 7 till 8, go back to college. And I was doing that 7 days a week. So when I met her, that's the norm. Like, that's what I've always done ever since. But I had no plans to change that. I remember saying to her, even before we got married, this is who, like, and now we can relax and enjoy a bit more because we've got, financial stability behind us. And I think the only other thing, sorry, I've written it all down, all these thoughts that you lot have spoken about, is, you touched on it, Adam. I think the best thing that I ever found, the same as you, is that you are just a number in a company. And I think the pandemic taught me that. And I think you are just a cog in that big machine. And I say to so many people now when I speak to them, there are so many other jobs out there. Like, sometimes I feel like you don't think there's another job out there. Like, I'm happy if I lost my job tomorrow. And I've said this for a long, my dream job is to work at a supermarket. I would not care if I lost my job tomorrow and I was in Sainsbury's. Sadly, they don't really do stacking the shelf jobs because I'd be there already, or on the till. I'd have to be on that self-checkout, like fixing it with everybody getting angry. But I think there's something reassuring about knowing that I'd go to McDonald's. I really don't care if I worked at McDonald's. I think it would be a good old laugh. Like, you'd just be surrounded by teenagers that don't give a shit. Like, I think that would be like my dream job. Like, having no management responsibility and just chilling. Like, and I think that's why I got the ice cream van, just because it was just so different than what I do every day. But I think there is something reassuring that, if you lose your job and you can just walk into something and not have an ego about, oh, you're stacking shelves. I think there is something about that. Like, one of my family friends came from a really high up project management role, hasn't gone back into work, but struggles financially because of that ego of, they tried a job in the Royal Mail and it wasn't for them, and they tried other jobs. And I think because they've come from so far up, and to them it's so far down, actually it's all a job, it pays the bills, and as long as you're happy at work, I think that's the main thing.
Mark, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think most actual people have a similar feeling. At the end of the day, if I went back to working full time as a care worker, I would do it. I'd work in McDonald's. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, that I would class as beneath me. But a lot of it was down to financial security, and it wasn't just financial security for me and Rebecca. It was also for the kids growing up, for them to have opportunities and chances in life, and for me to be able to develop them. But there does come a point, and I've found this, there does come a point where you sort of like look at it in real terms and go, yeah, I could work that job, etc., like that. But there's something ingrained into us, and certainly with you two, whether you like it or not, and it's in me. We'd be the shift leader in weeks, because there's something inside of us that would say, I don't like the way that's being done.
That's what Alex always says to me. She's like, you go and get a job in Sainsbury's and you'd be managing it in a month.
You just know it would happen, because we can't help ourselves, because we're opinionated, and that's what makes us who we are. If we don't like what we see, we're going to say something, and the difference is we're opinionated with solutions. So you get recognized very, very quickly. And I'm afraid you're never going to be able to get rid of that. So in your ice cream van, you're your own boss, but you're still your own boss. You still get to shout at you if it goes wrong. And in Sainsbury's, yeah, you might be behind the till on day one, but you'd be coaching people by week 3 on how to do the till service and be in charge of the inductees that were coming in. It would just happen. And it is that form of, yes, there's learned skills that we have in leadership, and we can learn to develop them, but there's something also within us that just makes us natural people that want to lead people.
I've always wanted to work. I always said when I was younger, Blockbuster. Oh, I love it.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
I know.
I know. Time there.
I don't even know how Blockbuster never went streaming, because that for me was like a shoo-in of like, they'd have been a great streamer. I always wanted to work in Blockbuster, something like that I'd have loved. But you are right. But I suppose as much as it's within us, it's about the conversation we've had tonight, though. If you look at that control, if you look at that confidence, if you look at that ability to adapt and persevere, anyone can achieve anything. And that's, it might come more natural to us now, but it never when I was younger. It took me a few years to give my head a wobble and go, actually, Adam, you need to get your head on straight now and work to achieve what you can achieve. I never used to be like this. It's stuff that I've learned, I've adapted, I've grown, I've wanted to progress, I've not had that fixed mindset. And anyone can achieve that. And I think for me, that's what I've got most from tonight's conversation is control. What can you control? What elements of your life can you control? And once you've got that confidence and you've got that ability to control, world's your oyster. Like, control the situations, create your own narrative, dance to the beat of your own drum. Ain't no one can tell you other, because if you're then not happy and you're able to control and go, well, actually, this isn't for me, go do something else, because it's living your true self.
Absolutely. Now, I know you've reached the end and probably run over slightly, but what I had done, just for anybody that wanted it, is something that I work with some of my clients. I don't know whether you can see it, but it's basically just a little 4-week taster plan of how you can improve your mental toughness. So I will email that over to you guys if that's okay, and if you want to post it out on the social media if anybody wants it. But basically it just goes, week 1, we're going to work on your awareness and foundations. So some of the things that you can do there is self-assessment. So write down your 3 strengths, your 3 weaknesses, and how you handle stress. Always look at the stressful environments and how you handle yourself. Daily journaling, just spend 5 minutes. We're going to look at small discomfort challenges. So that can be, you're going to jump in a cold shower, or wake up earlier, or walk in the rain. Do something that you wouldn't normally do that's a little bit and then obviously breathing practice is a big thing. So actually, even if you're somebody that goes, oh, that breathing practice is not for me, try it. You'll be surprised how calm it can make you feel. And then in week 2, resilience and confidence, we'll work on that. Week 3, focus and discipline. And then week 4, pressure, simulation and growth. So if you want, I'll send it over to you. It's just little things like that. It may just give people a chance to work on them. And then maybe people can feed back to you in 4 weeks' time if they followed the plan and tell you how they're feeling.
I love it. We'll happily do that. I'm going to bring it to my team as well, and I'll introduce it across our service for people. That discomfort exercise, though, is so good. So, like, people who are watching this have been watching this for the last 4 years. I used to be just short of 24 stone. Like, I was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters, right? I know, Mark, I know. But that was who I was. And I started to lose all of this weight. And I had the big guy mentality still in my head of, oh, but people don't want to look at my body. And, oh, I'm going to be embarrassed when I go here. Oh, I'm going to be embarrassed when I do that. Call this TMI. I don't really care, because it has helped my confidence tremendously. I started walking around my house naked. Like, literally, stuff that I wouldn't normally do. I'd be like, you know what, I'm just going to, I'll put the washing out outside. No one can really see in my garden, but I'm going to do it in my underwear. I'm going to feel confident whilst I'm doing it. And all of that has helped tremendously for me to overcome this fear I've got of my physical being, to go, actually, no one pointed their fingers and laughed. No one threw stones at me. No one put me in the stocks. And I've been to the spa and no one's laughed at me when I've taken my shirt off or I've been in my shorts. And actually, yeah, this is helping like loads. And it's helped with my relationship, because I used to be the case of, I'll get changed in another room, or I'll turn the lights off when we get into the bedroom and I'll get changed that way. Whereas now, like, swinging it around like a helicopter, I don't care. I feel really confident, I feel amazing. And and for me, it was around facing those discomforts. And that's just something small. I've done loads more discomforting stuff over this last sort of 6 months that I really would never have done. And it honest to God, it is so healing. Like, it is so healing. And therapy, for anyone who sits there thinking, what a load of tosh, paying someone to go and sit on the couch and just talk to them for an hour, you're wrong. I'm sorry, and I would never call anyone wrong, absolutely. But therapy is amazing, and for me, that's a discomfort, because you've got to sit there and you've got to talk, because they don't talk. They will literally not really talk to you at all, and you can sit there in silence, and it's uncomfortable. And then you start talking about stuff that is uncomfortable, but then it becomes normal to talk about uncomfortable things. And you go, actually, no, I'm really confident about this now. And then you bring it into your natural life, and you'll start saying to people, you start saying to people, I spoke about this with my therapist, and actually, what I've recognized is I need to do more of this. So if you see me doing this, this is why. And they sit there, go, it's like you've got that so much control over your own life now, and you tell people about it. So you set those boundaries straight away. If I say no, it's because of this, and this is why I'm doing it. If I ask you about this, it's not because I'm being an asshole. It's because I'm just protecting who I am, and I've got to live my authentic self. And taking that control. So I'm going to do more discomfort exercises as soon as I get this. I'm going to try and find what I find uncomfortable, and I'm going to do more of it. So good, such a cool tactic. I love that. I can't wait to get this, Paul.
Okay, good stuff. I'll look forward to hearing the results of people if they do it.
Oh, brilliant. We'll share it. Mark, final thoughts from tonight.
Yeah, no, I think it's been a really good show tonight. I think it's been a really great conversation and thought-provoking. I think listening to you there, Adam, in terms of doing bits and pieces, I always walk around the house underwear, naked, and Alice is always like, the windows are open, the curtains are open. If people have got time to be staring through the window, like that's their problem, not my problem. But I think we have a projection of what people think of us. And actually, I go to the shopping like you do. Like, I really don't give a shit. I walk the dog in the dressing gown around the fit. I don't really give a shit what people think. If they've got a problem, that's their problem, not mine. Like, I'm not exposing myself, so technically I'm not breaking the law. But I do think it's like going to the cinema on your own or the theatre on your own. Like, you do it once and you realise actually nobody cares, nobody's really bothered, and then you do more of it. And that's the thing, is just do something outside your comfort zone. You'll realise people don't care. It's like, I remember when I wore Crocs and everybody was like, what the fuck are you wearing? Like, I don't give a shit if I'm wearing Crocs. I love those clogs that they sell now in Birkenstock. I've got 2 pairs of them. Everybody's like, what the fuck are those shoes? I really don't give a shit. Like, they are comfy as fuck. Like, I really do not care what anybody else thinks. I really don't care that, you know, I'm in 4-inch shorts here. Like, I feel good. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Like, and you do realise that nobody actually looks. Like, your friends and your family might be like, but actually, other than that, like, strangers really don't care. But I think the only other thing that I wanted to touch on, and I'm very conscious of time, is around, and it was when we were talking about our own goals, is that I think in life, people project the next thing onto you. So I think in work, the amount of people that say to me, oh, do you not want to become a director? Do you not want to, like, I'm comfortable, like, doing the job I'm doing. But the same in your personal life. You get with somebody, oh, when are you going to get engaged? When are you going to get married? When are you going to have a child? When are you going to have the next child? I've got 3. Like, people still ask me, when are you going to have the next? I'm having 4 fucking children. Like, I listened to everybody when they said I have 3. It's like, it's no different. Like, I'm not having any more. But there's always that expectation from society to do more. But if you're comfortable, you're happy where you are, that's fine. And like, I just think, like, if you know yourself that you've got the amount of children you want, or you're in a job that makes you happy and you feel comfortable, or it fits around family life and you've got a good work-life balance, or it pays well, actually, you don't have to go up that career ladder any further. You don't have to own your own company. Like, being a registered manager, being a regional manager, being a quality, whatever role it is, even if it's just being a care worker, absolutely nothing wrong with not going any further.
Yeah, absolutely. You're good enough. It's not all about, like you said, climbing this success ladder. And by the way, and I'm testament to this, you can chase and chase and chase materialistic things and think that they're going to make you happier and happier and happier, and you will soon discover that they don't. One of the things that I've actually got rid of a lot this year is a lot of materialistic things. So I spent a year where I decided I never buy anything for myself, and went way overboard. And all of a sudden the Porsche arrived and lots of other stuff. And I felt cool as hell for about 3 months, until I realized that my back was really sore, that the suitcase was having to travel next to me on a passenger seat, that all these expensive items that I'd gone out and bought were not bringing me happiness in the slightest. And you actually start to realize that stop chasing something thinking it's going to make you happier and happier and happier. The first thing you've got to do is get happy with who you are right now in this moment and work from there.
100%. Stephen and I have done that. I mean, first off, I apologize for everyone. 2 weeks in a row, we've had an explicit show, and I'm going to put some swear warnings on this show moving forwards. But Stephen and I sort of had that same mentality. We're getting married next year. It's something that I've sort of worn him down on. Been together 15 years this year, so Christ almighty, it's about time he put a ring on it.
Yeah.
honestly. But then it was, we just want a small wedding, and then it was, but then we'll do it here, and then we'll invite these people, and then these people want to come, and then my sister wants this from the wedding, and then my family want this from the wedding. It's like, actually, what do we want? Like,
Yeah.
literally, what do we want? We want to get married and spend the rest of our lives together. So all we're doing, most likely at this moment in time, this is our decision, is we're booking a registry office. We're sending people a letter to say, this is when we're getting married. If you want to come, you can come. We can go out for dinner if you want, but you're paying for yourself. I ain't paying for you, because this is mine and Stephen's day. All we want to do is get married, and that's it. I ain't spending any money on it. I don't want big lavish things. I'm not even going to get a ring. I'm getting it tattooed, because I can't think of a ring that I actually want right now, and I can't justify spending a couple of grand on a ring. So I'm just going to get it tattooed, and that's all we're going to do, because actually what's important is what's important to us, not other people. So I am really learning that. I've learned a lot from you, Paul, over the years. You and I have some really close conversations. You've been a huge mentor and a huge guide to me, and it's, I just want you to know how important that's been for me. Not to blow smoke up your ass, and not because you're a sponsor.
Likewise.
But it's super important. And from those conversations I've had with Mark, conversations I've had with the family, that all adds to that confidence to being able to go, actually, I'm doing this for me. The amount of people I get messages from, well, I don't anymore because I think they forgot I exist, but are you okay? You've not been on LinkedIn for a couple of days. I'm absolutely fine. Like, you do you. I'm absolutely, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, nice that you thought about me, but there is nothing wrong. Just because I'm not on LinkedIn, don't project that mentality because I'm not on social media. Something's wrong with me. I am hunky-dory. I am A-okay. And I'm living my life for me. And I've loved this show. It's been a great one tonight. I think we need, especially as men, not to be sexist or genderist here, or people who identify as men, we need to do this more often.
Yeah.
We need to be open more often. We need to show our vulnerability. Walk around your house naked. I really don't care. We need to do whatever makes us feel uncomfortable a little bit more, so that we can start to become comfortable with who we are, and start to accept who we are, and don't suffer in silence. Even if it means going to see a therapist, doesn't mean you're a failure. The last thing I'm going to say tonight before I close this out is, my therapist said to me on my first session, how long are you going to come to therapy for? And I said, well, I've just lost 10 stone in weight, and I'm never not going to calorie count. I'm never not going to think about my physical health, and I'm never not going to try and maintain the weight that I'm at. Once I've achieved what I want to try and achieve at therapy, why would I then stop? Why would I stop coming to therapy because I've got myself into a good place? I'm never going to stop investing in my physical, so why would I stop investing in my spiritual and my mental? This is it now. I will come. It might not be with you, I'll be honest. It might not be with you as my therapist ad infinitum, but I will be coming to therapy most likely for the rest of my life, because there's a benefit there in looking after myself and caring about myself. And I am not ashamed to tell people that. I told all my team, I am not ashamed to say that I seek professional support so that I can get through the day to day and manage what goes on in my head.
Absolutely. And Adam, on the basis of that, it's something that we can learn from America. Every business person, sports person, celebrity style influencer seeks therapy. It's the culture.
Yeah.
To actually go and do it, because otherwise what happens, and we've all been victims of this to ourselves, we store it up in here. And the problem is, when we store it up in here, at some point it gets to there. And when it gets to there, we lose the control. That's the problem. We lose the control. So if you're someone that's used to controlling situations and working with what you control, when this decides to play silly buggers with you, the control goes, and you don't know how to handle or deal with the situation, and you don't know how to expose it to anybody. And sometimes talking, your therapist ultimately is a complete stranger who you're able to go with trust and confidence and go, I feel like shit.
Yes.
Right? And they have no judgment on you. And that's the bit where I would reach out to a lot of people and say that there is nothing wrong with it. There is no shame in it. Take your testicles, right, out your mouth and get to the therapist and talk, particularly if you're a male, because there is no pride in actually storing it in whatsoever. I am someone who is testament to say that when you think that you are invincible, and that's where I got to a point where I actually started to physically believe I was invincible, and then realized quite quickly I wasn't. And that my whole identity, the whole mask, the charade that I'd built up around myself came crumbling down to the ashes. And I didn't know who to talk to, who to reach out to, what to do. And you talked about 3 years ago, I was in that similar position. And for me to sit back now and think like that, here's my goal in life: never to get back to that position. That's the key. Never to go back there. Now, I know what drove me there, and I know what could potentially take me there in future. So when you talk about things like the art of saying no, etc., like that, learn it bloody quickly, because there's only one version of you.
And
after it.
But not also, to be a little bit nihilistic here as well, talking about the positions that we've been in the past. And I don't mean this in a way of saying to everyone right now, just go and do it. But one day we will all be dead. And no one's going to give a shit. No one's going to have flying monkeys what we've done in 20, 30, 40 years after our deaths. Life is fun. Stop taking it so seriously. And that's a lesson I'm really learning really fast. It is fleeting our time here. So actually, if you're spending your time worrying and stressing, you're doing it wrong. And I'm learning that very quickly. Just have fun. Literally.
Do you know what, boys? I came onto this tonight thinking, it's going to be all sort of like, it's going to go down the macho route, etc., like that. And we actually carved it to pieces and brought it back. But these last 15, 20 minutes, they've been like therapy to me. It's great to be speaking to you two again. We've had private conversations. We know what each of us have gone through at this moment in time. And what I would say is, I think because of what's occurred to us, it's important that whilst we have a platform, that we openly go on and talk about this stuff and show people that you can come on and talk about it too. There's nothing to be ashamed of at all. And sometimes, no disrespect, your best mate, your family, etc., that you can't talk to them about this stuff because they already have a preconceived image of who you are, and it will break them if they see you break. So sometimes you've got to go break yourself in front of somebody else and sort of like say, help me. And that's all it is. Help me. Simple words.
Paul, you are a diamond. You are a beautiful, beautiful soul, and it has been a pleasure having you back on the show. You're more than welcome on here as often as you want to. These conversations are great. I really do want to visit the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think we need to do a bit more. Yeah, I think that'd be really, really great. Mark, as always, thank you so much for everything that you do, even if you have taken Alison McVeigh's mouth last week and run with it this week. I don't care. It's an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for everything that you do to keep the lights on, to keep us running, to keep us providing this knowledge and this support out there to everybody. Thank you to everyone who's listening and giving up your time to do this. But also thank you for everything you do in social care. It's important that you get to hear that every now and then. And thank you for this show, because it's like I've had 2 therapy sessions this week. I'm going to go into my therapy session on Thursday and be like, babes, I'm already done this week. I've already had my fill. Let's just have a natter now, because, what's the tea? Mark, what are we discussing next week?
Yes, so next week we are joined by Caroline Southgate. So we're going to look at how we can rethink care through an allied health approach and allied health leadership. So I think there's some organisations that already have allied healthcare professionals or have got some of that insight. There'll be a lot that don't. So just kind of us rethinking what social care could look like, feel like with that kind of approach.
Awesome, amazing, wonderful. So everyone, www.thecaringview.co.uk. Please go follow Paul Blane and his many, many wonderful businesses on LinkedIn. Don't follow me on social media. I'm not going to do anything, but do go follow Mark. He's amazing. He's absolutely fabulous. We're live next Tuesday, 7:30. And if you can't wait until then, go and check out the podcast, because we have got episodes going out each week for the time being of some of our past shows. And it's always worth sort of catching up on them. And I would say, don't use our stuff for training if you don't want to or anything like that, but do direct your team to this podcast as well, because the conversation tonight, especially, yes, directed at managers, yes, directed at leaders, But everyone has emotions, everyone has feelings. So share this with people, get them involved, give them the sort of. Mark, you were saying stuff about. I struggle to close the show, but you were saying stuff about reflective practice. We've just put a new induction process in at work, and I've actually put in reflective practice after each week during an induction, so that each week the team are reflecting: what did I do well? What didn't go so well? What could I do better? What have been my challenges? What have been my barriers? Foster that from day one. Tell people you want them to reflect, you want them to learn, you want them to ask questions. Super important. So stuff like this, super, super, super important. Yeah, CBAT, go check them out. The training's amazing. I'm going to close us out because you'll all want to go and do something now. So good night, take care, and we will see you next week.